Hey guys, it's Micah here, and today I'll be telling you about the new Echo audio effect in Ableton Live 10. So for this demonstration, I'll be using a preset called Trident Stab from Ableton Live 10's new instrument called Wavetable. And let's have a look at Echo. This is what it sounds like. So hopefully that just gives you an idea of what kind of awesome possibilities you have with the Echo audio effect. Echo is a modulation delay effect that lets you set the delay time on two independent delay lines while giving you control over envelope and filter modulation. This is what it looks like. You have your display in the middle, where each line represents an instance of a delay and the distances between them, and these little white dots represent eighth notes. You can change by clicking and dragging in the display, or you can change your knobs in here, and if you want different delays in both your left and right channels, you can unlink them and change both sides independently. You've also got a Modulation Tab and a Character Tab, as well as some global controls and then your usual time controls. Now let's have a closer look. On the left, you've got controls for your left and your right channel for delay. And if you link them, then they will both sound the same. And if you unlink them, you can change them independently. You can choose between sync and time, as well as your note values in terms of whether you want them dotted or triplets and so forth. And then this here will be your delay offset, and this slider shortens or extends the delay time by very small amounts. Your input sets the input gain, and the feedback sets the amount of each channel's output that is fed back into its input. This feedback control is off the hook. You can set it up to 150, which is really cool for interesting sound design, but as always with feedback, just be careful. Then you can also use your clip dry knob, which will allow a little bit of distortion in your incoming signal, so your dry signal, to emulate some of the hardware delays. And then your feedback invert, which inverts the feedback signal before adding it back to the input. If you've got really short delay times, it has a noticeable effect. I can actually hear a pitch. Then we've got our display, which I already spoke about briefly. On the bottom, you've got your filter, and you can click this triangle to open your filter display, where you can click and drag and change the filter. You can also use the controls at the bottom. And then you've got this Modulation Tab. Echo's Modulation Tab controls an LFO that modulates filter frequency and delay time, and an envelope follower that can be blended with the LFO. You can choose your different wave shapes over here, and in the display you can click and drag to change the frequency. You can also change the rate, as well as the phase at the bottom, whether you want it synced or not. And then you've got your mod delay, mod filter, and envelope mix controls. Mod delay adjusts the amount of modulation that is applied to the delay time. This ×4 button over here scales the delay time modulation depth by a factor of 4. With short delay times, this produces deep flanging sounds. The modulation filter adjusts the amount of modulation that is applied to the filter, and the envelope mix blends between your modulation oscillator and the envelope follower. At 100%, only the envelope's modulation will be heard, and at 0%, only the LFO's modulation will be heard. Then Echo's Character tab contains parameters that control dynamics and add imperfections to your sound. For instance, noise. So noise adds noise to your delay signal. You can change the amount, and you can change the morph, which morphs between your different noise types. Then you've got gate. Gate enables a gate at Echo's input. It mutes the signal components below the threshold. So the threshold sets the level that incoming audio must exceed in order to open the gate. And release sets how long it takes for the gate to close after the signal has dropped below the threshold. I'm saving ducking for last, it's my favorite. Let's just go to Wobble. It adds a wobble to your delay. So your amount is how much. And this morph control will morph between different types of wobble modulation. Now, ducking, when ducking is enabled, the wet signal is proportionally reduced as long as there is an input signal. So basically, if you have a long sustaining synth, and you only want the delay to sound when it's soft enough, then you can enable ducking. That way you're not going to have the delay start as the synth is still playing, which will result in a very kind of murky pad type sound, which is fine if that's what you're going for, but if you're not, then you can enable ducking. So without ducking, you can hear the delay immediately, and with ducking, you can only really hear it at the end. And you can change your parameters to taste. We've also got repitch at the bottom here. You may remember in Ableton Live 9, on your different delays, for instance your ping pong or your simple delay, you could right click on your title bar, and at the bottom of that context menu, you can choose how you want your delay to respond to changes in your delay time while the delay is sounding. But here you don't have that. The only thing cut off here is save as default preset. With repitch, when you change delay times, your output repitches, like on the classical hardware delays. But if you would rather have a crossfade between the old and the new delay, you can unenable repitch, and you won't get that wonky woo 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 vibe. And now we've got our global controls. You can change your channel mode, whether you want stereo delay, ping pong delay, or mid-side. And if you're in mid-side, then your left and right controls are now mid and side controls on the left. But whether you're in ping pong or stereo, they both will be left and right channels. You've got your dry-wet control, which adjusts the balance between your dry and your wet signal. You've got your reverb, so you can add reverb on top of whatever is going on. But you can also choose where in the processing chain you want your reverb to be added, whether you want it pre, post, effects, or within the feedback loop, which is what I had. You've also got your stereo control, which sets your stereo width of the signal, where 100% is the highest width, and then the further you go, the signal kind of folds in on itself. And then you've got your output, which changes your volume. You've got your decay. This has to do with your reverb, how long or short the tail is. And then, like all the other audio effects, you can enable hot swap mode, or you can save your current settings as a preset. Talking about presets, I will be releasing a bunch of free presets for the Echo audio effect, as well as for the wavetable instrument. You can get those if you go to the description, and you can sign up to my underground club. And if you want to learn more about the wavetable, you can check out this tutorial, as well as any first looks into Ableton 10 if you haven't seen that yet. And that's it for Echo. This is by far my new favorite delay in Ableton Live. I'm very excited to use it in my next production, as should you. For more tutorials on Ableton Live and music content, hit subscribe, and thanks for watching. I will see you soon in the next one.